Okay, friends, I'm back with another Friday Classic hymn, and I've just been on 2 weeks of leave where I travelled around. Shireen and I went and saw some of the most beautiful sights around South Africa. It's a beautiful country. We've got towering mountains and beautiful valleys and long straits and dams and animals and birds, and it's a beautiful, beautiful country. And if you watched my encounter that I did on Sunday, you will have heard me sing about some of those things and tell some of the stories. So I wanted to find a hymn that really emphasized God's creation and worshipping Him for the beauty of the world that He made. I've already done How Great Thou Art, which is a good one. This Is My Father's World, which is another beautiful one. All Things Bright and Beautiful. I've done songs like that on the series, which you can go check out. So I did a bit of research and found one that I didn't know, which is by the great Isaac Watts. It's called I Sing the Almighty Power of God. Do you still sing this song? Do you have any memories of the song, or is it new to you? Put in the comments below your thoughts, your impressions, your memories of this song. And if you haven't already subscribed to this channel, please do so and share this content around, please. I'd love for these videos to reach more people. Let me tell you the story behind this old classic. As I said, this song is an Isaac Watts classic. Now, I've already featured Isaac Watts songs like Joy to the World and When I Survey the Wondrous Cross. He is known as the father of English hymnody. And he really, along with Charles Wesley, is probably up there as the greatest. Watts was born in 1674, and he was one of the guys who really revolutionized congregational singing, because at the time, the church really only sang scripture. They wanted words directly out of the Psalms, or they didn't want to sing it at all. But Watts wanted to sing our own expressions of scriptural things, and so he started to write more singable tunes, which started to be used in the church in those days. But it was in 1715 that Isaac Watts published a hymnal for children. He wanted to write songs that had easy English that children would be able to understand. I think that a lot of his songs are quite heavy and difficult to understand. They use difficult language. And so he wanted to write some simple songs for children, and this was one of the songs he wrote. You see, a few years earlier, Isaac Watts had had a bit of a mental breakdown at the age of 38. And he went to live with the Abney family. Sir Thomas and Lady Abney took him in and really cared for him and helped him out a lot. Now, Watts didn't have any children of his own, but he really grew to love the children of the Abneys. And so, out of his love for them, he wanted to write some hymns that they would be able to understand. This particular song was the second song in this hymnal, and its title was Praise for Creation and Providence. And you'll see as we go through the lyrics in a few moments how he paints vivid pictures of creation and gives God the glory for doing this amazing work. Now, the hymnal was very successful, and they say was used for 150 years after it was published, but it's fallen out of fashion now. But this is the one song from that hymnal that endured beyond the hymnal itself. And again, I wonder if you've sung this one. I haven't, and I guess a lot of you haven't, but perhaps this one is sung in your church. Sometimes the words have been slightly altered to We Sing the Almighty Power of God instead of I Sing. But a lot of churches use this as a great opening worship song, like a call to worship, and it's just a wonderful song proclaiming God's power, so why wouldn't you use it? Watts continued to live with the Abneys for the rest of his life, in fact, until he died at the age of 74. He was buried among some of the great nonconformist Anglicans of the day, John Bunyan and George Fox. And Watts remains one of the great hymn writers, and I think I should maybe try feature more of his songs. Have a look at When I Survey and Joy to the World and just marvel at how beautifully he writes in those songs. And in this one, let's look at the words and see how, interestingly, even a song that was written for children with easy English in his mind is still very cleverly written and beautifully worded. So there are 8 verses of the song, and they usually get sort of joined so that there are 4 that we sing. but we'll go through them one at a time. Stanza 1 is this: I sing the almighty power of God that made the mountains rise. Well, as I said, traveling around South Africa, and especially in Cape Town, or just going to the Cape, shall I say, the mountains were spectacular, absolutely spectacular. The mountains in our part of the country, Joburg, are what we would call koppies. They're just little hills, essentially, compared to the great grand mountains there. So we drove through huge mountain ranges, where you felt covered in by the mountains. They were so large. So this line just grabbed me. Don't you marvel at God when you see the greatness of mountain ranges? I can only imagine going to some of the huge mountain ranges around the world. Well, God is great. He is so much greater than those mountains. That blows my mind. I sing the almighty power of God that made the mountains rise, which spread the flowing seas abroad and built the lofty skies. And so the seas are built by God, by his power, and the skies. I love that. When you drive in the Karoo in South Africa, it's kind of a deserty, not complete desert, but it's a deserty sort of landscape, very sparse and very open. And a lot of the travel guides we were looking at were saying, marvel at the big sky of the Karoo, because as you drive, it's just open. You can see far the landscape. It's not built up by stuff. It's just open. So you see the sky is massive. And so that's another line that got to me. The lofty skies are built by God. And it actually reminds me of Job 26, verse 7, which says that he spreads out the northern skies over empty space. Just take a moment and marvel at the sky today, won't you? Verse 2 goes on, I sing the wisdom which ordained the sun to rule the day. The moon shines full at his command, and all the stars obey. Sun, moon, and stars are marvels of God's creation. Now, on our trip, we went to a place called Sutherland in South Africa, and it's just outside of Sutherland where SALT is. SALT is the South African Large Telescope, and it's the largest telescope in the Southern Hemisphere. And so we got to go and marvel at this amazing telescope, but how the telescope picks up amazing things in the sky. We were just blown away by how amazing creation is and how these telescopes bring it home to us in a kind of a way. They take these huge, big, amazing bodies out in the universe and then bring it into bring it down to size so that we can kind of see it. Amazing. We also spent time stargazing in Sutherland at the little planetarium there, and one of the nights we went and did one of the stargazing things with an astronomer who let us look through the telescopes. We got to see the moon blown up really huge because we had a full moon that night, which meant the stars weren't shining so brightly, but nonetheless it was amazing. So this is real to me at the moment, how the sun, but the moon and the stars are just marvels of God's creation. How great must God be that he would create such marvels and such grand and huge things? Blows the mind, friends. Psalm 147 verse 4 says that he determines the number of stars and calls them by name. Yes, he is in control of all of that, and it's his marvelous hand that has made it all. Let's go to the next one. I sing the goodness of the Lord that filled the earth with food. And so yes, there's food all around the world for all creatures to be sustained. Right? He's the provider, and we are supposed to be looking after this earth so that people are provided for and that animals are provided for. And I wonder if we're doing that. I know that there are questionable things that a lot of companies do to get more food out there. And I know that there are a lot of people who think that today's foods are just really bad for us because of what a lot of companies have done just to mass produce food and so on. But going around looking at this earth, I'm just amazed at how God would provide for us in the way that he has. Are you grateful for his provision of something to eat today? He formed the creatures with his word and then pronounced them good. Well, Genesis chapter 1 proves this, right? God created animals, birds, and said it was good. It was good. God's creation is good indeed. Let's go to verse 4. Lord, how thy wonders are displayed where'er I turn my eye. If I survey the ground, I tread or gaze upon the sky. So as I walk along the ground, or if I gaze upon the sky, oh, how amazing are his wonders which are displayed everywhere. Man, sometimes we miss out on this when we live in cities, right? Maybe we have a bit of garden, some grass, some trees, some birds around. But unfortunately, we have to get out of the city to see what he's talking about here. But God, of course, has made this world in his glory. And so, if we just open our eyes, we'll see. Verse 5 says, there's not a plant or flower below, but makes thy glories known. And so every plant, every flower as well, is a picture of God's glory. I love that. And clouds arise and tempests blow by order from thy throne. So he's saying every cloud and every storm is directly ordered by God, which is typical of Watts being a Calvinist. Calvinists believe that there is not a movement in the universe that isn't directly caused by God, whereas others would say God has created it and sustains it, but there is free will, and a lot happens due to the free will of people and creatures. Either way, God is glorified in my mind. I don't think he has to determine it for him to be glorified, but that's a Wesleyan speaking. God certainly has got control over all, but I know that sometimes he relinquishes control to the free will of people. I believe that, and I think sometimes that creates things in the universe through the way that we've looked after the planet. But either way, as I said, God is the one who gets glorified for creating and sustaining it all. The next verse, creatures as numerous as they be are subject to thy care. Do you remember how Jesus said that not even a sparrow falls to the ground without the Father knowing it? And outside of the Father's care, he said. So even sparrows are cared for by the Father. All of creation is cared for beautifully by God, and us too. There's not a place where we can flee, but God is present there. Psalm 139, David says as much. He says, where can I flee from your spirit? I can't. If I go to the heavens, you're there. If I go to the depths, you're there. Everywhere, God is there. And so, you know what? We don't have to be out in nature to marvel at God, because his presence is with me even here in a room. But the beauty of creation is more interesting than a room like this, I'm sure. God is present there, and he's present here, and he's present everywhere. Verse 7, in heaven he shines with beams of love, with wrath in hell beneath. It's interesting that he would include this in a hymn for children, but maybe children do need to know these realities of heaven and hell, and God's love and God's punishment. What do you think? I'd love for you to share your thoughts below about that. But it's true, Jesus himself claimed that there is a heaven with God and there is a hell without him, and you want to be in the heaven with him. 'Tis on his earth I stand or move, and 'tis his air I breathe. He's the one who created and owns the earth, and he's the one who creates the air. It's his. I love that. His earth, his air. Everything I do is his. In fact, Paul, at one point in Acts chapter 7, said that it's in him we live and breathe and have our being. So it's all in him. And then the last verse, his hand is my perpetual God. He keeps me with his eye. So God is guarding us, protecting us, watching over us, and watching us with a loving eye. He doesn't leave us, but he watches over us. Why should I then forget the Lord, who is forever nigh? It's a rhetorical question. Why would I ever decide to move away from the God who made all of this and yet still loves and cares for me? And that's kind of what I got as I drove around South Africa into all these beautiful places. I thought, how can this God who did such huge, grand, majestic things still have time for me? I mean, why would he do that? But he does. He loves me. He loves you. Yes, he made beautiful creations, but you and I are also beautiful creations of God, cared for and loved by him. So what beautiful words. Did you get something out of it? Did a particular line speak to you? Please share in the comments what God has said to you in these words. And we're going to sing it now to a tune called Ellercombe, which is actually a German tune, but it was named for an English village. Hope you'll join me in singing it. And friends, please do check out my Patreon if you're interested in getting the solo piano part that I play for this that's underneath me speaking at the moment, and just an audio file of the song that you're about to hear. You can support for any amount a month, and you'll be able to access those, as well as my extra daily devotions. I have a daily devotions YouTube channel as well, which you might enjoy if you like my tone. So please have a look at that, and thank you to those who donate via PayPal or on Patreon. I'm so grateful that you take the time to do that. I'm very humbled by that. Thank you. Come, let's sing the song and just marvel at God as we do. I sing the almighty power of God that made the mountains rise, which spread the flowing seas abroad and built the lofty skies. I sing the wisdom which ordained the sun to rule the day. The moon shines full at his command, and all the stars obey. I sing the goodness of the Lord that filled the earth with food and formed the creatures with his word, and then pronounced them good. Lord, how thy wonders are displayed where'er I turn my eye. If I survey the ground I tread, or gaze upon the sky, there's not a plant or flower below, but makes thy glories known. And clouds arise and tempests blow by order from thy throne. Creatures as numerous as they be are subject to thy care. There's not a place where we can flee, but God is present there. In heaven he shines with beams of love, with wrath in hell beneath. 'Tis on his earth I stand or move, and 'tis his air I breathe. His hand is my perpetual guard, he keeps me with his eye. Why should I then forget the Lord, who is forever nigh?